Welcome back to the deep dive. We spent a lot of time on this show talking about democracy in the big capital D sense, national elections, the whole spectacle. But today, we are zooming in, way, way in. We're looking under the hood of a very specific machine that keeps the gears turning for thousands of workers. We're talking about union democracy, specifically inside IAM District 142.
It is a fascinating pivot because I think most people have a very specific, almost Hollywood version of a union election in their heads.
Oh, absolutely. I picture Smoky Hall, maybe some guy standing on a crate, lots of shouting,
Yeah,
and then everyone just raises their hand and boom, you've got a new president.
right. Or the darker version, the backroom deal, the guys with the cigars deciding who runs the show.
Sure.
But what we have in front of us today, this stack of documents, the IAM Constitution, the District 142 bylaws, and this really dense document called Official Circular 910, it paints a picture that is, well, it's basically the opposite of that.
It looks less like a town hall and more like a high-stakes legal proceeding.
That's exactly what it is. It's a rigorous, legally binding machine. We're going to unpack the rules of the road for how leadership is selected. And we're not just talking about union rules, we are talking about federal laws.
So the mission today is to figure out, how do you actually get the keys to the kingdom? Who's even allowed to run?
Right.
How do you campaign without accidentally, committing a federal crime?
Yeah.
And then once you win, what does the job actually look like on a Tuesday morning?
And we really have to start with that first hurdle, the gatekeepers. Because the first question isn't how do I win, it's am I even allowed to play?
Right, so let's play this out. I'm a member of District 142. I'm passionate, I've got big ideas, and I decide I want to be the president. Can I just print up some flyers and announce my candidacy?
The short answer is no. The long answer is you need to check your status. This brings us to a core concept found in Article 2, Section 4 of the IAM Constitution, good standing.
Good standing. See, that sounds subjective to me. It sounds like a character reference. Oh, he's a good guy. He's in good standing. But I'm guessing it's a hard metric.
It's a binary switch. You either are or you aren't. It is not a vibe. To run for office, you have to be free from any delinquencies. So dues, fines, assessments to the local, the district, or the international.
Okay.
And here's the kicker. You have to be clean for a period of 1 continuous year prior to your nomination.
Continuous. So let's say 8 months ago I had a banking error, missed a dues payment by a few days, but then paid it double the next month to catch up. Am I out?
You are likely ineligible. The clock resets. The rules are incredibly strict about that continuity.
That seems harsh, but I guess I see the logic. If you can't manage your own $50 dues payment, you probably shouldn't be managing the district's treasury.
Exactly. It filters for consistency. But there's another layer in Article 2 that I find even more interesting. You have to be working at the trade.
Working at the trade, meaning you have to actually have a job.
Meaning you have to be doing the work that the union represents. The rule says you must be working at the trade for 6 months before the close of nominations.
So this prevents the suit from parachuting in.
Precisely. It prevents some outside career politician from swooping in to take power, or someone who, hasn't touched a tool in 10 years from running on nostalgia. They want leaders who know what the current shift actually feels like.
It keeps the leadership tethered to the shop floor. I like that. But I'm looking at the source material, and there's another hurdle. The meeting attendance.
Ah, yes. The meeting attendance rule. This one trips people up constantly. Locals have the authority, and District 142 uses this, to require members to have attended up to 50% of regular local meetings in the 12 months before nomination.
50%. So if they meet once a month.
You need to have been at 6 of them.
Yeah.
And we're talking verifiable attendance at meetings where a quorum was present.
Why set the bar that high? I mean, life happens. People have kids, second jobs.
Well, think about it from an organizational standpoint. If someone suddenly gets angry about one specific issue and decides, I'm going to run for president, but they haven't been to a meeting in 2 years, do they really get the big picture?
Right.
This rule privileges the steady, consistent participant over the reactionary candidate. It proves dedication before you get power.
It's a barrier to entry, but it ensures the candidate is actually invested. Okay, so I've paid my dues, I'm working at the trade, I've gone to my meetings. Is there anything that legally stops me, like big, scary federal law stuff?
Yes. This is where we leave the Union Rulebook and enter the United States Code. We have to talk about the LMRDA, the Labor Management Reporting and Disclosure Act, specifically Section 504.
This is the anti-corruption stuff, right? The Jimmy Hoffa legacy laws?
Correct. The LMRDA was born out of a desire to clean up labor racketeering. Section 504 is a blunt instrument. It lists specific disqualifiers. If you've been convicted of certain crimes, robbery, bribery, extortion, embezzlement, you are barred from holding union office.
Barred for how long? A lifetime ban.
It's 13 years. 13 years after conviction or the end of imprisonment, whichever is later.
That is a very specific window.
It is. It's designed to be punitive, but not permanent, although, a 13-year gap in your career usually ends your leadership ambitions.
Okay, so let's assume I'm clean, I'm eligible, now I want to win. This is where it gets really interesting because I think most people assume a union election is like a high school class president race. Put up posters, hand out candy.
And that assumption would get you disqualified and possibly sued by the Department of Labor.
Yeah.
This is where we have to look at Official Circular 910. And the golden rule here comes from Section 401G of the LMRDA,
Which is?
the strict prohibition of union or employer funds.
Okay, union funds. That seems obvious. I can't go to the treasurer and say, hey, cut me a check for $5,000 for billboards. That's embezzlement.
Right, that's the easy part. But the law defines funds much more broadly than just cash. It's about resources.
Give me an example of a resource trap.
The photocopier. Let's say you're a shop steward. You're in the union office at the airport. You have your campaign flyer ready. It's just one page. You think, I'll just run off 50 copies on the Xerox machine. You have just violated federal law.
For 50 pieces of paper.
Yes, because that toner, that paper, that electricity, it's all paid for by union dues. You're using collective money to advance a personal candidacy. Strictly forbidden.
Wow. Okay, what about time?
Same thing. You cannot campaign while you are on time paid for by the union. If you're on lost time, meaning the union is paying your wages to handle grievances, and you spend that hour handing out vote for me buttons, you're in violation.
That is incredibly granular. It forces you to compartmentalize your life.
It has to be that way. But here's the part of Circular 910 that really surprises people. The ban also applies to employer funds.
Meaning the airline I work for.
Any employer. The rule is strict neutrality, and the source material highlights this detail. This applies even if the employer doesn't employ IAM members.
Wait, hold on. Let's say my uncle owns a pizza shop. A totally independent small business. He's proud of me. He wants to donate $100 to my campaign.
That is a violation.
Seriously, my uncle's pizza money is tainted.
Under the LMRDA, yes. It's a blanket ban on employer money. The philosophy is you cannot allow any corporate influence to creep into the union's democratic process. If you open the door to the friendly pizza shop owner, you eventually open the door to a massive conglomerate.
I see the slippery slope argument. It keeps the election purely between the members. But this creates a logistical nightmare. If I can't use the union email list, and I can't use the company email system, how do I talk to the voters?
That is the million-dollar question. Access to voters is strictly regulated to level the playing field. As a bona fide candidate, you have specific rights.
Bona fide candidate, what do I get?
You get the right to inspect the membership list.
Inspect, not have.
Correct. Once within 30 days of the election, you can go to the union hall. They'll put the list of members and their addresses on a table. You can look at it.
Can I take a picture of it with my phone?
Absolutely not. Can't copy it, can't photograph it, can't write the addresses down in a notebook.
That feels like a tease. Here's the data you need, but you can't take it. So how do I send them a mailer?
You have to use a third-party vendor. This is the compromise between privacy and democracy. The union has to comply with reasonable requests to distribute campaign literature. So you bring your flyers to a neutral mail house. You pay for it yourself, no union funds.
Right.
The union sends the labels directly to the mail house. The mail house sticks them on your flyers and sends them out.
So I never see the addresses.
Never. And crucially, the union leadership never sees your flyer before it goes out. They can't censor you. It's a clever system.
Okay, so campaign season is over. I followed the rules. I haven't taken any pizza money. It's election day.
Right. And again, get the movie scene out of your head. This is not a show of hands.
It has to be a secret ballot.
Mandatory. For officer elections under the LMRDA, the secret ballot is non-negotiable.
So what's the setup look like?
A lot like a regular government election. At the polling station, there has to be a strict campaign-free zone. The rules usually say 50 feet from the entrance.
So no one yelling at you right at the door.
Exactly. No buttons, no t-shirts, no electioneering near the booth. You walk in, you get your ballot, you mark it in private, you deposit it.
Now here's where District 152 gets tricky. It represents airline workers scattered all over the country. What if I can't make it to the hall? Can I just mail in a ballot?
This is a huge point of confusion. People hear absentee ballot and think of modern no-excuse voting. But in District 142, under these bylaws, it is not automatic. You have to qualify.
What are the hoops I have to jump through?
The sources refer to what's known as the 25-mile rule. You generally have to live more than 25 miles from the polling place to get an absentee ballot.
Okay, so I live in the suburbs. My GPS says I'm 22 miles away. Can I get a ballot?
No, you're expected to drive to the polls.
What if I'm working?
Mm-hmm.
Airline shifts are 24/7.
That is a valid excuse.
Yeah.
If you are at work during voting times or confined by illness or on military leave, those are the exceptions. But, and this is big, you have to ask for it in time.
The deadline factor.
It's very bureaucratic. You have to submit a request in writing, signed, and the deadlines are tight. For a July tally, requests often have to be in by late June.
So you can't wake up on election day, realize you're scheduled for a double, and say, oops, send me a ballot.
Too late, and there's a verification step. The secretary-treasurer judges your eligibility. If they deny you, they have to notify you within about 5 to 10 days so you can appeal.
It puts a lot of responsibility on the member. Now, let's talk trust. Who watches the counters?
That would be the observers. Every candidate has the right to have an observer at the polls and at the counting.
What can an observer do?
It's basically eyes open, hands off. They can stand close enough to verify that the tellers are calling the votes correctly. They can see the marks, but they absolutely cannot touch the ballots.
Why the no-touch rule?
Chain of custody. If a partisan observer touches a ballot, they could mark it, void it, or just create an accusation of tampering. So, hands off.
Okay, so we've survived the gauntlet. Someone wins. Now what? What are these people actually signing up for?
Exactly. We focus so much on the horse race, we forget the job description. And the officer's guide gives us a really detailed look, and honestly, it's mostly administrative.
Let's start with the president, or the directing general chair. Is this person a CEO?
No, the guide describes the president as a quarterback.
Calling the plays, but you need the line to block for you.
Right. The president presides over meetings, but one of the most practical duties is financial. The president countersigns the checks.
Checks and balances, literally.
Literally. The president doesn't just spend money, they verify the expenditures authorized by the lodge. They're the final gatekeeper on the bank account.
Then you have the secretary-treasurer.
The guardian of funds. This is a high-pressure role. They receive all the funds, they pay all the legitimate bills, and they handle the per capita tax reports to the Grand Lodge.
Sounds like a lot of personal liability.
It is, which is why the source material mentions bonding. Officers who handle funds have to be insured for the faithful performance of their duty.
Now, I want to talk about the role that I think is the most underrated, the recording secretary. This just sounds like taking notes.
It is so much more than that. The recording secretary is the historian, but in a legal sense. You have to understand. The minutes are the only permanent record of the lodge.
What happens if something isn't in the minutes?
Then technically it didn't happen. Let's go back to money. The recording secretary reads the bills at the meetings. The members vote to pay them. If the secretary fails to write down, motion passed to pay $500 for the printer repair, and the treasurer cuts that check, that is now an unauthorized expenditure.
Just because someone forgot to write a sentence?
Exactly. The minutes are the legal justification for every action the union takes. If it's not written down, the money can't move.
And finally, we have the people checking everyone's homework, the trustees and auditors.
The watchdogs. Trustees have charge of the property, the computers, the furniture. But the auditors are the ones who come in semi-annually in June and December.
And they can't be officers, right?
Correct. Auditors are elected separately. Their entire job is to come in, look at the books, compare them to the bank statements, and report directly to the membership. They're the fail-safe.
So, looking back at this whole picture, we started with this idea of union democracy. And it's easy to be cynical. But when you look at the 13-year ban for criminals, the ban on employer money, the 25-mile rule.
It transforms from a buzzword into an ecosystem of accountability. That's the why it matters here. These rules, the LMRDA, the circulars, they aren't red tape just to annoy people. They exist because, historically, when these rules didn't exist, things went very wrong.
Corruption, theft, undue influence.
Exactly. The union is a democratic organization where the members are the highest authority, but that authority is exercised through a very structured legal framework.
It's a machine designed to function even when people disagree.
That's the goal.
It really makes you think. We take that I voted sticker for granted. But when you look at the sheer weight of regulation here, the fact that you can't even use the office copier, the requirement to verify every penny in the minutes, it raises a question for me.
What's that?
If the system is designed to be this rigorously fair, if the machine is this precise, are we, as members, putting in the equivalent amount of rigorous thought before we cast that secret ballot? The system protects the vote, but only the member can give it value.
That is the ultimate responsibility. The rules can ensure a fair count, but they can't ensure a wise choice. That's on us.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
A pleasure to be here.